Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited to have my next guest. I have Tonda here with me. We actually got connected through LinkedIn. I think we had a mutual connection that introduced us. I'm telling y'all, I meet a lot of people, so it's hard to keep it straight. But we did get together on a Zoom call, and I'm so excited for our conversation today. But before we get into all that, I want to give Tonda the opportunity to introduce herself.
Good morning, LaChelle. This is Tonda Bean, and my name is Tonda Bean. My company is Wisdom in Minutes. We do career exploration and life launch prep for students. When I was a student, I kept getting this idea that I was doing well because my father told me to do well. And what happened was I got to the end where I was supposed to be going into career applications, college applications, and there was a piece I didn't know what to do with. There was a blank on there that said, your intended major. And I realized the intended major should be attached to your career. And I didn't know what to do. So I needed advice. And I said, oh, I have a career counselor. I have a counselor. Let me go over there and ask. And so she said, take this test. Took the test. The test said, name 3 careers that you would be interested in. And so I did. Mm-hmm. And when I took the test, came back and said, yep, you could do any of those. So it wasn't really helpful. Mm-hmm. So then I started looking at the 3 careers, though, because it made me isolate 3 careers. And I said, okay, what am I interested in? The first career was teaching, and my mother was a teacher. And I said, Mom, what do you think about my becoming a teacher? She said, no, don't do it. There's not enough respect. There's not enough pay, and it's not getting better. Now, this was some time ago. And since then, teacher strikes have become kind of common. Mm-hmm. So the next career was law, because Thurgood Marshall was on the Supreme Court, and I thought he was great. And I said, wow, let me think about becoming a lawyer. I realized that law is all about conflict all the time. And I really am not about conflict. Mm-hmm. So I let that go. Third one was engineering. And my father was an engineer. So I talked to him, I asked him, what do you think? And he said, oh, that'd be great. That would be great. You can be any kind of engineer. What do you like in school? I said, well, I like history and I like chemistry. He said, chemical engineering, boom. I'm a chemical engineering major. First year, I don't know. Ugh. Second year, really? Second year, second semester, we went to a chemical plant on an optional field trip on a Saturday morning. I said, let me go and see what my future will be over here as a chemical engineer. Well, now I'm a city girl. And this place was so far out, it took us like forever to get there. It was like the backside of beyond. Okay. It was a long way out. And we went over there and we walked around all day and we asked all kinds of questions. And we said, man, this is what the chemical engineers do, huh? This is the kind of place I'd be. Yeah. What if I wanted to be in the city? Well, you could work with wastewater treatment. I was like, okay. So by the end of that day, I knew one thing real clearly. I did not want to be an engineer. Mm-hmm. I did not want to be a chemical engineer. And I gave up on the whole thing, the engineering thing. I just, look, I got to go do something else. And I went off to School of Business, and things life got better. Mm-hmm. And so what I realized is, as I went through that, if I had taken that trip earlier, if I had known, I would have saved, I paid an extra year. I lost the full ride tuition messing around with chemical engineering, lost a full ride tuition, spent an extra year getting a degree. And then I had to do 3 summers worth of work to get that in the time, so that I didn't add 2 years. Mm-hmm. Because when I went from engineering to business, they told me, that's great. We can give you a freshman standing. And I was like, what? I did not want to be a freshman. So I started doing all this summer things. And then I had got married, had children. And I realized the system has not changed very much.
Right.
You still get up to the end of high school and don't know what you want to major in college. People get into college and aren't sure what they're going to do with their degree. And 73% of college grads work outside their field of study. That's according to a study that came through the Federal Reserve. So can't we do things better? Do you have to, it's mighty expensive to go to college now. Wouldn't it help if you were going to buy something that costs that much, a thing that you could hold in your hand? Wouldn't you want to know what you were going to do with it before you bought it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm about, because I had these children and I had to figure out how to get them better directed. And I was also a Girl Scout leader. And as a Girl Scout leader, I had 10 little girls looking at me, expecting me to help them to be prepared for life. And I couldn't leave that out and think that I was doing a good job.
I love that. And, you know, I love that, being prepared for life. Now, what can we do as parents? Because, you know, it's kind of a situation, I believe, that it's just how it always is. You know, we talk about how they don't have finances in, you know, early education, or, you know, we don't build up the children's identity for them to have the confidence to decide what they want to do. You know, we talk about all these different things, but we just keep on with this mindset that this is just how it is. So what can we do as parents to kind of, you know, support our children early and help them with this challenge?
Well, the very first thing when they're little, you have to do is understand who's who and what they do. Okay. Schools never promised to get your child ready for career. Schools never promised to get your child ready for life. Schools promised an academic education. That's what they do. They're academic education. They're not all of education. Financial literacy is missing. Right now, there's not a lot of history in there. There's certainly not your family's history that lets them know who they are in the world. Driver's ed is missing. Consumer economics, you know, they used to teach you how to cook a little bit,
right?
sew a little bit, and fix things a little bit. They don't do that anymore. Most places don't do that anymore. So what we need to do is understand that the schools give academic education, and that's a good thing. But it's like somebody said to you that you were going to do your first Thanksgiving dinner. You're going to do a Thanksgiving dinner, and somebody said to you, I know a place that gets a great turkey. I know where you can get a great turkey, and you can get it cooked. They have roasted turkeys if you want it. They have all kinds of turkeys. Well, okay, that's the academic education. That turkey for your Thanksgiving dinner, and it's great. Now, and people say, oh, well, my child is going to private school, so therefore I'm getting most everything she needs. No, you're getting a turkey that comes with stuffing and your choice of two kinds of gravy. All right. So in the private school, you can get your choice of smoked turkey or roasted turkey, and you get these other things around it. But, you know, that's great. And that's great. It's wonderful. Public school, you get a nicely roasted turkey. Thank you. If you want to homeschool, we got organic corn-fed turkey for you to cook yourself. Okay, that's fine. But in all of these things, you have to remember Nobody just serves turkey at Thanksgiving.
Right.
All right. There are
Mm-hmm.
all these other things that make that rounded, that make it a good experience. You have to worry about not only the other food, but, when are you going to serve it? What are you going to serve it on? Who are you going to invite? And who should not sit next to who?
Mm-hmm.
There are all these details.
Mm-hmm.
And parents going in, even before that child hits the first kindergarten door, you need to understand that they are not going to get everything they need. You do not just come back after
Mm-hmm.
graduation and say, okay, you're ready for life now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They won't be.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a turkey.
I love it. I love it. So, what can we do really to support this mindset in terms of I think a lot of it is asking better questions. I tell that to my kids because, when we're in the space of always talking about what we know, what we do,
Mhm.
we just end up with the same outcomes. And, when we begin this quest of reflecting and thinking about asking better questions, who do we ask these questions to? And even if we're engaging with our children, what kind of questions should we be asking them to kind of get to the who's who and what they do?
All right. Now, the who's who and what they do, you understand now as a parent, you are making this thing brilliant. You're making this launch for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making this launch brilliant. The school is a contractor for you.
Okay.
It's like if you were building a house,
Mm-hmm.
you might not want to do everything that's involved with building the house. If you bought the land, okay, great, I got the land, and you need somebody who is going to come in and do the actual building. That's the school system. They do the building of the house. They don't do the landscaping. They don't do all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. They're not putting furniture in. Again, so the question is, what kind of house do you want built? What kind of setup do you want for your child?
Mm-hmm.
The school is only going to be part of that. So you need to start asking the question early, very early, what do I want my child to know when they're 18? Because at 18, kids tend to start going places in our society.
Mm-hmm.
People leave their parents. The parents are no longer invited. You go off to college, your parents aren't invited. You
Mm-hmm.
go off to special job training, your parents aren't invited. You go off to the military, your parents are not invited. So
Mm-hmm.
at around 18, you need them to know the things that you want them to know as adults. Okay. But the thing is, there's a trick to this. And it is that in the teen years, the heavy lifting of human development is to differentiate from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot differentiate by going along with them all the time. So then you start to say no, because that's the first thing. You don't have any money, you got no car. You can't say, I'm going to my friend's house. Where are you going? You gonna walk? Okay. So the first thing you get to do as in differentiating is to say no. You want to go with us too, though? No. Are you going to be in the choir this year? You were in the choir last year? No. No starts to come up. So what are you as a parent going to do about that? You teach them what they need to know before they're 13.
Mm-hmm.
Because 13 is where the no kicks in. Up till then, they tend to be really cooperative. And so you need early to start thinking to yourself, what do I want them to know at 18? You can do this before they're 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because at 5, you start getting them into the academic school system, and you need to know what you want out of that school system. Do you want them to learn a second language? There are elementary schools that have a second language. Do you want a special emphasis on math and science? What do you want? Do you want a place where there's a lot of hands-on? You can use the things that you want to evaluate the academic institution you put your child into. But you need to know what you want. And so the question is, what do I want for my child? What do I want my child to know? And you start gearing their summers and their out of school times. You want them to learn to sing. Maybe there's a church with a good choir around you, with a good children's choir. Okay. Do you want them to learn to sew? Do you want them to learn to cook? They teach all these things in summer programs for children, and you can reinforce it at home. Oh, you learn to boil eggs, that baby? Why don't you boil some eggs for us and we'll have egg salad? That's wonderful. You know, you can be a part of that learning experience, but you need to take the reins. You need to make sure that you're the one pouring in the main part of what they get and helping them to interpret what happened. Because they leave out of your house and people say things to them, and you have to come back and say, well, baby, that was not about you. That was her stuff. And you don't have to take it on. You don't have to carry that with you, you know? But you need to make sure that you're asking them, about their day, and not just in a way, how was your day? And they'll say, fine. And you get nothing. So you can start to make sure that you have in the good questions idea, you make sure that you're building as they're young, before they're 13, before they're 10, build this habit of telling you what happened in their lives. So you need to then put forth the energy to learn the cast of characters in their life outside of you.
I love that. Now, one of the things that was coming up for me while you were talking is, how do we prepare our kids to communicate in different ways? So I'm somebody, I don't have a problem talking, so I can just openly communicate, but I don't have a problem writing either. I've learned to do both, but making sure that our kids can communicate, whether verbally or written, what should we be doing to kind of build that muscle?
Well, there are a few things that you can do, and this is why it's especially important for parents to see themselves as the main educators and the school to be a helper on them. Because as a parent, you can always send them to theater programs. Get them into the choirs, get them into the plays. Make sure, oh, yes, baby, I think you should try out for the play. Is that what they said is coming up? Yes. Oh, it's a lot of fun. Go on out there and let them learn to speak in front of people they don't know by being in a play in a supportive environment. If they have parts for them to do at church or in whatever worship service, make sure you put their name in. Yes, baby, of course you want to be in the holiday pageant, whatever holiday you're celebrating. I'm not particular, but whatever they're doing over there, make sure that you get that child in there, and they will protest, and you say, oh, baby, I believe in you. You can do this. I believe in you. You're going to find out you can do it. Go on over there, baby. You'll see. You'll see. Trust mama. Come on. We're going. And you're going to do wonderfully well. You are. I know it. And you'll know it soon too.
I love it. So, and this has been a great conversation. I'm over here. I done wrote almost a book over here with these notes, but you have parents that they were not the product of what they're learning to practice. So when we talk about some of these things for them to incorporate, what is your advice for them to get started? Maybe a baby step for them to, because I think sometimes if you haven't lived that life yourself, you don't feel confident.
And I did not live that life, but what I said, and here's what I say is, look at what happened. Look at what happened when you were being raised. That was your primary, that's the example we all work off of. It's what happened, what our parents did. But look at it as an adult. Okay. Look back and say, what things did mom and daddy do that worked really well? Let's keep that. What things did mom and daddy do that I just couldn't stand it? It was awful. It didn't work. It made me upset. Write that down too. Make sure, and then put a fix in place. Figure out when they did that, why they did that, and what you want to do instead.
I love that. And this is kind of off topic, but this is something. I was an only child. So I was able to interact with all my friends, stay the night, just go and really just have a good time having my friends and being able to be in an environment where I'm not always at home alone. Whereas now, as we are parents, with all this stuff with people being abused and not knowing what's going on behind closed doors, we had a policy, hey, we're not doing any sleepovers. Nobody's sleeping over here. Nobody's sleeping over somewhere else. It just isn't happening. And although our kids really didn't understand it, now I can appreciate it because I've got boys and girls, and they just, my children sleep in the living room. They'll fall asleep or whatever. And you think about teenage kids coming over and anything could happen, right? And so I love that you mentioned that. So although I never had anything happen to me, I'm blessed about that. But you hear all these stories later on where people say, oh, well, I went over to such and such's house and their uncle or whoever has access. And I'm not saying it's all just about spending the night, because you could go over somebody's house in the daytime and that happens. But certain boundaries that you set up, that you realize, hey, this is something that I might need to fix and take action. So I love that you share that.
Yeah, it's about the intentionality. This is what I see, and this is what I can do about it. This is what I see, and this is what I can do about it. When I was raising my girls, I have two of them. I saw that the school system was not going to give me what I wanted for them. I saw that. I saw that, the thing is, in our society, we are not trained to look at little Black girls and say, I'll bet you could be a doctor, a lawyer, the president of the United States. I'll bet you could be. They don't say that about little girls. And they definitely don't say it about little Black girls. So I had to make sure that I was getting the best I could, the best in the building for my child. All right. That's something that I decided I would do. And I did it to the extent that I quit my job and came home from the workforce and started working in the schools so I could see more in the schools. And I was in the PTA doing things because I had an idea of what I wanted for my children. And I realized it was not the same idea that the school system had. They would be happy sending my child to community college. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the way the statistics go, if you've been to college, your children are increased in their likelihood of finishing college. Now, they didn't say that you finished college. They said your child, you attended college. So your child is more likely to finish college. My husband has a master's degree. I have 2 master's degrees. And the school system thinks my child would be perfect at 2-year college.
Right.
There's a disconnect there. And I was not going to let them be the ones to dictate my child's future. I was the one. I took that over. And so I have these 2 girls. One is really sociable. One is studious. The sociable girl wound up at New York University. The studious one ended up at Harvard.
Wow.
And the big thing that I'm happy about is that both of those girls, each one started a career in her field the week after college graduation in a city far from me.
Wow.
So they were up and out and flying, but they were supported. But it was, I know for the first part of the journey, it's my vision. It's the parents' vision that
Right.
drives success and you need to just take that on. Say, it's not the school's vision that's going to drive your success, baby. It's my vision. And my vision for you is that you are greatness personified. And we're
Love
going
that.
to work with that idea.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has been wonderful. I cannot believe that we are already out of time. So tell everybody what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, because this is some great, great insight that you have shared with us today.
Well, my website is wisdominminutes.com. And you can contact me through the website, or you can reach me by email, tbean, T as in Thomas, B as in boy, EAN, at wisdominminutes.com.
Love that. And what final thought would you like to leave to the parents, administrators, or whatever's on your heart as a final thought today?
Well, what I'd like to say is children are born with greatness in them. Schools develop it to one extent, but the polish and the beliefs that launch, that propelling them into life in a strong way, that comes from home. So as parents, we can change the world. We can change the world. We change tomorrow and the tomorrows beyond our existence. By polishing and working with our children, we change the future path of mankind. Let's get on it.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has been such an informative, insightful, and inspiring conversation. And I thank you so much, Tonda, for being here and reminding us what an important role that we play as parents and even as supporters for our community with the schools, as teachers, and just as overall citizens. So thank you so much for bringing this to the forefront. And we want to thank you guys for joining us today. If anything that was said resonates with you, or if you have any ideas that you would like to add or questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. But above all, I ask that you share this video. I am a mother of 15 children and I was taking notes. I got a lot out of it. So I know that there are many moms that have less kids than me, so I'm sure you could get some value from this video. So please share it. It doesn't cost us a thing to do that. And we thank you guys so much for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye now.